Hello, folks. This is Kenny with Just the Right Angle coming at you live with another broadcast. You can catch me at Just the Right Angle on YouTube, Keep Arkansas Legal, where I do updates on issues that affect everyone. Let's see, trying to pick the studio here for Podbean. It may not be. Oh, there we go. There we go. Had a technical difficulty with Podbean. It's up now. Y'all check me out on there. I guess I'm going to play first a little bit a reminder of how we got to where we are. This is the vote to close the primaries that was done at the Arkansas State Convention. It's June 8th. Okay, folks. So that was the event when the primaries were closed, right then and there. Under Arkansas law and under settled lawsuit, that closed primaries. Anybody who is trying to tell you otherwise or is trying to claim otherwise is lying to you. And sadly, that's a lot of people. Since then, the Republican Party of Arkansas has decided to pretend that this event never happened and have instead tried to, they held a mock, bogus, what we call election meeting. They had executive committee meeting. When was that? It was a few months ago. It was when Joseph Wood slammed the door in my face. Literally. And they decided to claim that the rule changes at the state convention were null and void, even though they A, had no authority to do so, and B, didn't even conduct the meeting properly, and C, didn't even bother to meet about this for nearly 2 months. Yeah, this was, I think, when this was put up 28 days ago. It's been nearly 30 days since this faux pas excuse of a executive committee meeting. And you can see some of the videos on here regarding that issue. And this is where I give an intro. This is where the Joseph Wood slammed the door in my face, where he could have explained why he did what he did. But instead, he let these narrative setters, specifically KRK4 and Samantha Boyd of KRK4 and Michael Wickline of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, go in to set the narrative, a false narrative. And that narrative is that Arkansas primaries are closed. And sadly, there's another news network that has decided to put that narrative up here. Now, here's the lawsuit. I'm going to read a little bit of it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's been assigned to District Judge Miller and Magistrate. I don't know if that's Moore. I can't really read that writing. There's the actual case number if you want to see it. I think to research this type of material, you have to have some kind of I got this by another means, but you have to have a log into the court system in order to look at this. Jennifer Lancaster is the main plaintiff. There are other plaintiffs in this because, of course, again, a lot of people were cheated during this convention. They spent a lot of money and effort to abide by the rules and pass several rule changes. And now they're being told, no, your rule doesn't mean anything. Your vote doesn't mean anything because the Rules Committee decided they didn't want to have that on the agenda. And so what happened was before the convention, and this needs to be talked about, and it's not, is that the Rules Committee didn't bother to submit either recommended or not recommended regarding rule changes that were submitted to them. They withheld them. It should also be noted that the delegate list was withheld, which ended up wasting about 3 to 3.5 hours trying to figure out who was an eligible voter. That delegate list, which is supposed to be released to the chairs so that they can conduct the meeting, was not done. So this case involves federal elections for president and House of Congress. Yes, folks, the open primaries means that Democrats can sneak into a Republican convention or Republican election and vote for someone. And if you remember during the primary elections a few months ago, Nikki Haley was caught red-handed trying to target Democrats to vote for her instead of Trump. She was actually counting on that to try to unseat Trump from the Republican primary. Now, fortunately, people realized this and actively came out and supported Trump over Nikki Haley and any other, what you call Republicans in name only, including the pitiful effort by Asa Hutchinson when he was basically running on a bash Trump fest and has now actually been actively spotted hanging out with the Democrat DNC convention in Chicago. But here's some more about the facts regarding this. The Republican Party, RPA, is a political party. They are required by Arkansas law to have these conventions. Plaintiffs were duly elected. We made several changes. And it goes through, I think it goes through each of the rule changes. This is closed primary. There's another rule change that if you run as a Republican candidate, you had to be registered as a Republican. And I'm trying to see if there are any other rule changes. And the RPA refused to acknowledge the convention in violation of the party's rules and then pretending it never happened. And of course, again, for nearly 2 months, Chairman Wood refused to acknowledge any rules responses. I tried to contact him. I went to the party headquarters myself, tried to talk with him. Jennifer Lancaster tried to talk with him. Many people have tried to contact him via phone, email, and in person. And then the Rules Committee that I mentioned before, who failed to do their job, wrote an advisory opinion claiming that the convention should be changes to be null and void, even though she never had the authority to. And again, this executive committee, I think it's 25 members and 18 of them voted to nullify the will of more than 600 state delegates. And not just them, but pretty much most of the overwhelming majority of the Republican Party. They don't want Democrats sneaking in to help elect rhinos. And everyone should know that. But more importantly, it's under the law. Again, the convention is able to decide whether primaries are open or closed. And besides Chairman Wood, and I don't know if his name is mentioned, I assume his name is mentioned in this. And here's the rules. I don't know. These are the old rules from 2019. By the way, they were up there for a long time. Also named in this is Secretary of State John Thurston, who is a Republican. Because as chairman of the Board of Election Commissioner, basically he's, in order to implement closing primaries, he is supposed to be doing his job. So let me know, so you saw the lawsuit and you saw the story behind it, so you know what happened. Let me show you this story. This is from Arkansas Advocate. It's supposed to be a political information news piece out here. This is Antoinette Grajeda, who, as far as I know, did not attend the convention. I think there was one reporter from Northwest Arkansas that was there. I'm not sure if Michael Wickline was at the convention. And she writes about this. Now, she writes about the lawsuit. And she gives a copy of the lawsuit. But right here is where she makes a mistake. And for those who may not be able to see, hey, Lou Rock, thanks for entering. Feel free to comment. And I'll go ahead and post this link right now to of this story to the page, to this broadcast, so y'all can look at it and read it on your own time. But right in the section where she says Arkansas primaries are open, that's incorrect. That would be like if the city of Little Rock just decided today that they're going to do everything to stop Arkansas Learns, and they're going to shut down every Arkansas Learns facility in Little Rock. There's no way any newspaper or television station would claim Arkansas Learns is dead. They would properly go out and find out the actual section of the Arkansas Constitution that talks about how state law is done. They post that. And they would point out that the city cannot rule on a state law like Arkansas Learns. So it says here, Arkansas has open primaries. No, that's not true. They were closed, which means voters can choose which party's primary they want to vote in. At the RPA's biannual convention in June, a majority of convention delegates approved a rule to close the party's primaries and require those who cast a ballot in the primaries to register as Republican. That needs one little word change, and it's from has to had. And I guess, and then this would be past tense of meant. Now, right here below it is another lie, and this one's even worse. It says the state convention can consider changes to party rules recommended by the Rules Committee, but the closed primary proposal did not come from that committee, according to the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. That is a bold-faced lie, and the reason that is a lie is because it's not needed. The Rules Committee does not make decisions on what proposals are allowed in the convention. And to, in any way, shape, or form, claim otherwise is a lie. And I'm sorry, but if you're going to write an article on something like this, you ought to at least have a basic knowledge of the rules. I can even look up within the Arkansas Republican Party rules. It's even in this lawsuit. And this is the old rules, by the way. Let me go back to here. You can see under the rule general provisions, I believe it's the last section of the drill. The final authority in all party matters shall rest in the biennial Republican State Convention, which shall be deemed to have delegated such interim authority to the state committee and executive as is necessary to carry out the purposes and objectives of the party. This is Section 1B, Article 1, Section 1B. I've mentioned it before. People that were there have mentioned it before. It's been mentioned numerous times. They are the final authority. If any committee can decide their agenda, then they're not the final authority. And this should be pretty simple. Again, it's right here. And why, what's her name? Antoinette Grajeda or anybody else in Arkansas Advocate did not see this is beyond me. But it is right here. So this phrase, the state convention can consider changes to party rules recommended by the Rules Committee. No, that's not correct. But and then this other statement is wrong. And of course, you go to the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Now, here they have it correct. But then later on, future headlines have claimed that the primaries are open. They are closed. And what this lawsuit is doing is forcing them to adhere to the rule changes that we voted on and were legal. And again, if anybody is saying otherwise, they are lying. And most likely the reason why is because they have an ulterior motive. They want these to be open. We've even seen stories of Democrats bemoaning how, bragging how they have to. Well, here it is down here. The final authority rests in the biennial convention. So this nullifies your previous statement. You can't have these two in the same article. You can't say, well, they didn't can consider changes to the party rules recommended by the Rules Committee and then say we're the final authority. It's one or the other. And in fact, it's this. This is the actual rule. We go by the RPA rules, not by the opinion of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. And again, it was the Rules Committee that violated the rules, that didn't do their job and did so in a cowardly way to try to block any changes. And these were not unknown and unvetted proposals. The Rules Committee does not decide which proposals are allowed to be read. Conduit News and lots of other people showed these proposals. There was plenty of time to debate them. By the way, and the side note, the Republican Party of Arkansas could have easily had a town hall regarding this issue before the convention and didn't bother to do that. They stayed quiet because they can't win this argument. There was hardly any debate on these actual issues at the convention, and there hasn't been beforehand or afterwards. All they're trying to do is change the rules and hide and refuse to do their job. They can't win the argument, so again, Joseph Wood is just changing the rules. And the sad thing is it's putting a lot of stress on people that doesn't need it. It makes the party look bad. Meanwhile, while this is all going on, you have the Democrat Party here in Arkansas. I know one of their candidates has already dropped out. Another one is basically needs to for being, I don't know, mentally handicapped in regards to their abilities to do stuff. The guy running, it's David Ray, made a claim that the Trump shooting assassination attempt was Hollywood staged and has never backed down from that claim at all. Now, Kamala is supposedly going to do an interview, but it's probably going to be the most softball, what flavor ice cream type of limp-wristed thing that's ever happened. And then there's the debates that are coming up. I think the first debate is September 14th. At least it's supposed to be, unless Kamala changes the rules. And by the way, these debates are lopsided against the whoever's the most conservative. The mainstream media does everything in their power to make sure that these debates are really a circus act. It's sound bites and just really a way to just deliberately focus on the things that don't matter and make it more difficult to people understand what exactly is going on in terms of choosing an elected official. And we know this. This is why in most debates are, the not well watched, and with good reason, because it's rigged. Now, if they had Lincoln Douglas debates or other type of debates where the moderator didn't have control and people had to speak and to speak up and actually make more than just 1 minute sound bites, actually have coherent thoughts on their policy, then it'd be a lot better. And here's a reminder of Joseph, the person that's being sued here, the main focus of this, Joseph Wood. And I don't think he's really doing this on his own. I think he's at the behest of either Sarah Huckabee Sanders or the scam artist Chris Caldwell and some of the other powers that be, the same powers that be that have kept Arkansas back for decades. Here he is letting in the narrative setters. That's Samantha Boyd there looking at me like I don't belong there, even though I'm actually a delegate. So yeah, that's who's being sued. And I personally think that the lawsuit, I think if this isn't working, even if it does, I think some of the powers that be in the Republican Party need to be sued on a personal level for the treatment they've done to people, not just with this. During the last convention, we were defrauded. Pulaski County delegates were cheated out of being able to even attend the convention. We had the police sicked us on us multiple times. I don't know how many hundreds of dollars people have wasted going to these conventions, hotels, and all that. Yeah. And we're being treated like garbage. And because of that, Democrats are still running a lot of cities. City of Little Rock actually is having a sales tax increase election in November. A lot of counties are still Democrat. We have lots of, we're going to, this upcoming legislative session, we're going to have a lot of conservative bills pushed through, and they're probably going to be sabotaged by these same type of people. Joseph Wood, Chris Caldwell, Seth May, Richard Bearden, the Arkansas Association of Counties, the Chamber of Commerce, these various organizations that want to run the state, they need to pay for what they've done to this organization. And again, the Republican Party's, reforming the Republican Party politically is the only way to save this state and really this nation on a political level. There's other things regarding finances and having a relationship with God on a spiritual level. Yes, this nation needs to turn to that. But as far as the politics, do not waste your time with a third party. There is one libertarian guy running in Little Rock, Michael White. He's running against a Democrat in West Little Rock area. But for the most part, it's going to be Republican. The nation will not survive a Kamala Harris administration because, of course, it won't be her running the country. It'll be George Soros, the same powers that be on a federal and global level. But here in Arkansas, the city of Fort Smith, for instance, they're having UN Agenda. We used to be called UN Agenda 21. I think it's now UN Agenda 2035. But it's these 15-minute cities where they want to take away your rights and force you to where you can only be within 15 minutes of an area. And, you have to have an electric car. The HOA and all these government groups can monitor everything you do. Your carbon footprint has to be a certain level. Actually, Conduit News, the same place that has this, that talks about this issue, also talks about that. And this is something that I've been in a fight in North Little Rock when it was Pat Hayes and what they called ICLEI. But you can watch this on your own. But yeah, and a lot of that is happening because the Republican Party seems to be run by the consultant class that cared more about media buys and using as a stepping stone to go to work for some office and bounce around. Some of these people been to work for the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, the governor's office, and then they work for some consulting company, and then they become the Economic Development Commission, all these organizations that get bounced around. And meanwhile, there's people that are wanting real freedom, and they're having to struggle, and they're being sabotaged by people like Joseph Wood. Not to mention the fact they're not getting paid. And that's why I mentioned earlier the lawsuit. And yeah, some money, the RPA needs to put money. They need to pay, something for county chairs, for those that are doing poll working, poll watching. The Democrats, they pay their people. They pay them. I talked before about these pro-abortion people. They were getting like $30 an hour. Not to mention they had a network. They knew where to go. They had all these, resources that were available for them. Meanwhile, your average Republican volunteer doesn't get anything. Maybe a walk list or some app that's out of date half the time. And that's part of the reason why we're losing the state in this nation. And yeah, we're maybe Trump red, but we're still behind. And it's because we still have an income tax. We should be, getting rid of it instead of nibbling at it. And lots of other things that we need to do. But folks, that's about it. Like, share, and comment. Subscribe. Do have some links you can, if you want to donate, see more things like this. I will try to attend as many events as possible. There are several GOP county committee events that are coming up. Find them in your local area. See if they are conservatives. If they are, help them, join them, donate to them. Find a way to get involved. Other than that, you have a wonderful day.